Greetings, everybody, and welcome to the Saphira Center of Shamanism, where we break down the ancient esoteric practices of shamanism and the occult, bringing them into balance with the deep psyche. My name is Luke, experienced practitioner and mentor of the shamanic and occult sciences. It is an honor to have you here. Thank you for joining me once again. Be sure to check out Patreon within the second link of the description of this video should you have interest in working with me. You can find all kinds of initiatory systems on this Patreon, over 300 pieces of exclusive content that you gain access to at just £20 per month. You will find full initiatory processes through the Tree of Life, the Tree of Death, the Necronomicon Gnosis, the Norse worlds, many other things up and coming as well. Definitely check that out. I look forward to seeing you there. So today we're going to be speaking about one of the most alluring and dense topics within the world of occultism and alchemy. We're going to be discussing the path of conscious Saturnian initiation. Now, Saturnian initiation refers to the alchemical pursuit of interacting with Saturnian divinities or Saturnian path workings in order to consciously face the destabilizing alchemy of Saturn. Now, Saturn is a core initiatory planet in which I have made a video about before called Saturn's Occult Power. I definitely recommend watching that if you want to know a little bit more about the general impact of Saturn in your day-to-day, but I will touch on it here and now. We are all impacted by Saturnian frequencies. Anything in day-to-day life that appears as restriction, appears as limitation, appears as a pattern reoccurring, and different things like this are all trials that come from Saturn. Saturn puts limitations and restriction into one's spiritual evolution so that deeper levels of perseverance and discipline can be developed within the person's field. But most people face the Saturnian frequency in a way that is completely unconscious according to how their true will desires. When we are facing the Saturnian essence from an occult standpoint, we are willingly, through our free will, exposing ourselves to the alchemy of various Saturnian currents. Now, Saturn is a meta-god of restriction. Okay, if we look at Gnosticism, Saturn, or what you could call the black cube of Saturn, is a direct manifestation of the concept of the demiurge, which is the architect of the multiverse within Gnosticism, the symbol of all of humanity's falsehood. Now, what the Saturnian essence has to offer you is transcendence of the demiurge itself, transcendence of the concept of falsehood, and into greater levels of sovereignty on all levels. Saturnian alchemy has the ability to affect all levels of consciousness. It can permanently transfigure all levels of consciousness. It can transfigure your spirit, your soul, your mind, your energy body. It can transform even your physical body in a positive or a negative way. You should not approach direct Saturnian divinities, especially not the Saturnian metagod, unless you are comfortable with the concept of restriction. As soon as you start exposing yourself to Saturnian alchemy, it's not something which is going to propel you forward. It will in the long run, but when you start interacting with Saturnian energies, time is going to shatter. Okay, time itself is likely going to slow down. Things are going to appear immensely slow. The trial of Saturn is to bring you into the present in a very direct and often painful way. Saturn is going to slow you down from an alchemical standpoint and force you to see things about yourself that you are not wanting to look at. With Saturn, you have to shatter the concept of time, you have to break the illusion of linearity and release any set result. Saturn is all about learning how to embody the power of paradox and how to embrace non-doing in order to attract more blessings into your day-to-day life. Now, what are some of the ways that we can interact with the Saturnian essence from an occult standpoint? Easiest way would be to interact with a spirit which is of Saturnian nature. An example of a demon who is Saturnian in nature would be Lucifuge Rothakael, who rules over the sphere of Saturn in the Qliphoth, rules over Satariel. Angelic example would be Zafkiel, who rules over Binar, the angelic aspect of Satariel within the Tree of Life. Or through direct occult initiation via the Kabbalah, you can interact with the literal sphere of Binar and receive a type of angelic-based Saturnian alchemy. Satariel initiates a type of demonic-based Saturnian alchemy. It really depends what type of spirit you are interacting with, but the most common ways to interact with Saturn are through path working such as the Tree of Life or the Tree of Death. The other way, which is the more advanced method that you should not attempt unless you are familiar with the feel of Saturnian energy and frequencies, is to work directly with the Saturnian metagod. Now, when we are interacting with the Saturnian metagod, we are interacting with the very current which holds the concept of restriction and discipline. We are willingly welcoming the frequencies and the initiatory trials of the Saturnian metagod into our day-to-day lives, and we are willingly sending our soul into the pressure cooker to be reforged and reshaped by the pressure of Saturn. So we're going to be discussing this concept today, diving into what Saturnian initiation really looks like, exploring the concept of Falsiferian sorcery in general, how it's linked to death energy, how it initiates karma purification, and more than anything, what Saturnian initiation really looks like within your initiatory process. Definitely stay tuned. Now, Saturnian initiation is going to vary according to the method in which you are interacting with Saturn. Now, if the energies of Saturn are being filtered either through a specific spirit, whether it's an angel or a demon, or whether you are interacting with the raw Saturnian current, obviously there is going to be a difference as to the concentration and type of Saturnian energy that is actually coming through. So Saturn itself is a metagod, as I've mentioned. It's not limited by any false ideas of duality. This means that, as with all of the planets, they have what you call Sephirothic aspects, angelic aspects, or Qliphothic aspects. They have two different aspects. You can interact with either of them, at which point you are going to be exposed to the level of alchemy that is filtered by that particular polarity. I'll give you an example. If we interact with Binar in the Sephiroth, we are going through a type of angelic initiation. Now, what this is going to involve is moving into a place of silence and nurturing, whereby you're placing boundaries that are necessary for you to be able to serve yourself. A type of angelic-based Saturnian alchemy is there to move things into silence and gestation so that you are able to effectively sit and welcome every aspect of your being. So what Binar in the concept of the Sephiroth is there to do, once you reach Binar, you've just been through Darth, you enter into Binar and your soul moves into gestation. This is where the new aspect of you starts to grow into place. From what I've seen with people that I've worked with, this can be either an extremely pleasurable experience or an extremely uncomfortable experience. It's pleasurable because you are basically receiving the true and authentic nurturing of the Divine Mother in the Kabbalistic terms. Binar, the Saturnian sphere, is the divine womb that holds things into gestation, conceives pure wisdom from Hokmah in order to give birth to the rest of the Sephiroth. So when you go into Binar from that perspective, your whole reality is moving into gestation. You move into silence, you go extremely internal, and you're processing deeper levels of self-value without the need to have an external result. Okay, this is how angelic-based Saturnian alchemy tends to work. So you go into Binar, you move into gestation, and you have to sit in gestation and allow the process to unfold. This can be unpleasant if you are attached to a set result, or if you go through the initiatory process and expect something to be waiting for you on the other side of the abyss. Because in most cases, nothing is waiting for you yet, it needs to take form. Now, Binar tends to show you how you have been forcing your inner child to be something that it does not want to be. In other words, forcing the baby out of the womb before it is ready to function in the world itself. You can do that, but it can lead to complications. So Binar, the angelic current of Saturn, is there to specifically initiate you through means of understanding your value, understanding your true sense of self, without the need to have it defined by anything external that you are doing. So that is angelic-based alchemy, showing you how to emanate the qualities of Saturn, master the qualities of stillness and gestation in order to give birth to greater potential. So angelic-based Saturnian alchemy is there to help you emanate greater levels of self-value and greater levels of understanding in your own abilities and in your own soul without the need to go outside of yourself to find it. It's a beautiful initiation. Then we have the demonic aspect of Saturn. This would be Satariel within Qliphothic initiation. Now, in my view, Satariel is the most intense sphere of the whole Qliphoth, okay, when it comes to the sphere workings anyway. I'm not talking about the tunnels of Set, and I'm not talking about what lies outside of the tree structure itself. But what I am discussing here specifically is what I feel to be the most intense sphere ruled by Lucifuge Rothakael. We are talking about Satariel. So if angelic-based Saturnian alchemy is all about showing you how to emanate self-value and emanate your true will without the need to go outside of yourself to find it, if it's about letting possibility grow within you gradually, then demonic-based / dark matter Saturnian alchemy is there to conceal. Satariel is often referred to as the concealers, and it literally conceals reality from you, conceals the perceived result that you want, holds it in gestation, and basically you have to learn how to function without it. Now, this is like your entire soul and your entire life path gets completely concealed from you. Now, the feeling of going into demonic-based Saturnian initiation is basically like having the wool pulled over your eyes, sorry. Literally like your whole reality becomes misty and foggy. Okay, spiritual fog at its finest. Whereas Binar feels very clear, feels very crystallized, feels very liquid in nature, which is more angelic in nature, showing you the true connectedness and your connection to the Divine Mother. When you're facing demonic-based Saturnian alchemy through Satariel, you are facing your disconnection from the Mother, and then you have to learn how to find it within yourself. Demonic-based Saturnian alchemy basically crumbles any perceived way out. Any pathway that you are using to escape from yourself will basically be completely fogged up. The way out will be completely blocked, and you have nowhere else to go but inwards. Now, this creates immense feelings of restriction. It can feel incredibly hard on the body. For me, when I was going through Satariel specifically, I was getting all kinds of physical sensations. I've never felt so confused and so lost. You're basically willingly facing the dark night of the soul archetype when you are entering into a form of demonic-based Saturnian alchemy. So, let me break down the core differences between the two so that you are aware. Angelic-based Saturnian alchemy is all about feeling your connection to the Divine Mother, letting your reality go into gestation so that you can develop a stronger sense of self-value and alignment to your truth without the need for it to be externally validated by something. And then demonic-based Saturnian alchemy conceals the end result from you, conceals your connection to the cosmos itself, completely fogs up your entire nervous system. You get completely blocked off from any perceived escape or way out, forcing you to have to face the concept of restriction in its rawest form. So Saturnian alchemy will really vary according to the specific polarity that you are approaching it from. But if you are facing the raw Saturnian divinity, then you are going to basically receive a more direct transmission of Saturnian energy that is not limited or filtered by any angelic or demonic current. In fact, you could receive a bit of both. Normally, what happens with the Saturnian essence is that you will feel the dark matter side of it first, and then you will feel the light matter side of it. In other words, you will not reap the benefits of Saturn until you have passed the test. Saturn is not a forgiving energy in any way whatsoever. The Saturnian energy is not forgiving. It will literally hold the result for you until you have mastered the given lesson, and it can last ages. This is the thing with Saturn, when you're working with the raw Saturnian essence from an alchemical perspective, you are invoking your own dark night of the soul. You are literally tapping into the current of energy that holds the essence of the dark night of the soul, and you are learning how to face that aspect of you and ultimately remain collected, remain resilient, and build deeper levels of discipline from within that space. So how Saturnian alchemy feels when you're interacting with the raw current is extremely restricting. You can feel very isolated, but in a way that's not lonely, but in a way that is kind of like you kind of want to be isolated. It can make you feel immensely isolated. It can make you feel immensely paranoid. You can sort of lose connection to reality as you know it. It's even more important to remain grounded and trauma-informed from within this space, because if you start interacting with raw Saturnian currents when you do not know what's happening, it will take you by complete surprise. Your system will be shocked by the essence of Saturn, because when you're facing it consciously, it feels immensely uncomfortable. Immensely uncomfortable because normally human beings will start interacting with something, or occultists, however you want to refer to it, will start interacting with a current with the goal to get something out of it at the end of it. With Saturn, you're not really getting anything linear out of it. This is the thing. You're developing deeper levels of mastery, deeper levels of resilience, and mastery over the concept of time and death. Absolutely. But you are not striving towards a set result. This is the whole point with Saturn, is getting rid of a set result so that you can let yourself become the result. You are the result with Saturn. You're not separate from where it is that you're trying to be. So when Saturn cuts off any pathway of escape or perceived liberation, you have to embrace the paradox of embracing the pressure. You have to become the pressure of Saturn itself. Otherwise, you will get crushed by the pressure of Saturn. And when I say crushed, I mean it really feels like you are being crushed. This is the thing, like it can create body sensations of tension. You can feel like almost like squashing sensations in the head. It's a really tangible planet that is immensely dense in nature. Even if you are interacting with the angelic current of Saturn through Binar, the energy itself still feels quite dense, even if you're working with a light matter aspect of Saturn. So understand that with Saturn, we are tapping into the very force that is responsible for the dark night of the soul. So therefore, we are willingly invoking our dark night of the soul. Why on earth would we want to do that? Because the level of mastery that will eventually come from that and the level of reward and blessing that will come from that is going to be significant. Now, those who interact with real Saturnian based initiation are willingly opting into a life whereby they are going to experience more challenges. Okay, life is going to become more difficult when you consciously start interacting with Saturn. In other words, there's going to be more obstacles. Okay, there is going to be more perceived restriction, more interference, all of the things that occultism, that spirituality, and all things like that claim to help you escape from. Saturn basically brings you right into it, brings you right into your karmic imprints and orchestrates your karmic imprints, brings your karmic imprints into the physical, tangible experience so that you can face them head on. So understand that with Saturn, life will get harder. Okay, life is going to get much, 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 much harder with Saturn because you are consolidating your karma. Saturn is all about karmic rebalancing. Whenever Saturn is in retrograde, there is an immense level of karmic rebalancing that is taking place. And whenever you are consciously interacting with the Saturnian divinity, you're basically evoking your karma and interacting with it directly in the world around you. Okay, so the challenges get more dense, yes, but the blessings also become more significant. This is the whole point of interacting with Saturn, to gain deeper levels of mastery over our unconscious mind, over the concept of death, over the concept of endings, so that we can ultimately develop greater levels of blessing and ultimately feel more connected and develop a stronger connection to our higher self and to our soul, not limited by false ideas of duality. Now, Saturn shows you that obstacles are supposed to be faced in day-to-day life. There's an expectation within spirituality to get to a point where you're no longer experiencing any challenges anymore. There's nothing more illusionary than that, okay? Most people within the spiritual community are trying to strive towards this state of being whereby they are not experiencing any obstacles in their life at all. Oh, I want to get to this point where I'm so ascended that no problems manifest in day-to-day life anymore. It's like the deeper you go into your alchemical path, if you're doing it properly, the more problems you are going to face, but the more blessings you are going to face as well. Because with Saturn, particularly with Saturn, the evolution comes through experiencing the restriction in your day-to-day life, through experiencing everything that is related to Saturnian essence, such as structural limitation, resistance, okay, perceived stagnation, all things that are there to bring you into greater contact with your unconscious mind, all things that are there to bring you into greater levels of communion with your higher self by releasing the external projection points. Okay, we are not trying to get to a point in our evolution whereby no obstacles are being experienced, whereby no challenges are being experienced. If you're really on a genuine path of alchemical transformation, the obstacles are going to become more significant. Okay, this is the whole thing. With Saturn, you're purifying karma. Once karma has been purified, then you're going to face deeper trials. Deeper trials whereby more has to be dissolved and more has to be mastered in order to keep yourself evolving. In Kabbalistic terms, there's a reason why the Saturnian sphere comes after the abyss. Okay, because this is the necessary development of discipline that is required to receive the gnosis of the higher self. In Kabbalistic terms, we have the supernal triad, which are the three spheres that make up the concept of the higher self. We have Saturn, we have Uranus, and we have Neptune. Sometimes Neptune being Kether, sometimes people refer to that as Pluto. It depends on the tradition that you are looking at it from. Basically, Saturn is there to apply those necessary levels of self-mastery in order for you to then receive the higher self gnosis in the next sphere, which is Hokmah. Hokmah is like lightning, the Uranian essence of lightning, that literally brings you the gnosis and understanding that you need, the wisdom that you need, everything that is the whole reason why you're going into these paths in the first place. Hokmah will give you that, but only once you have mastered the restriction of Saturn. Only once you have faced the restriction of Saturn and allowed your karma to be rebalanced and allowed yourself to extract your sense of self-value without anything outside of you defining it for you. There is no other initiation into autonomy and sovereignty than Saturn, because it takes it away from you. This is the thing, okay? Saturn takes things away from you, okay? Losses, bereavements, all things that are relating to things ending, periods of life ending, karma, karmic cycles coming to an end. All of that is governed by Saturn. So when you're facing Saturn head on, you are invoking the purest force of karma purification that is not going to liberate you straight away. In fact, it is going to take you backwards initially. This is the thing. When you're working with Saturn, you're going to feel like you basically reverted right back into who you do not want to be. This is how Saturn works. And this is basically all to show you that every aspect of who you are needs to be embraced. Every aspect of who you are, every aspect of who you used to be, every aspect that you are trying to deny, every aspect of yourself that you are trying to refuse, all has a place within your consciousness, and in order to evolve, you have to welcome it and embody it. Saturn is like, oh, you want to ascend, you want to grow as a person. Okay, let me first show you how you can attain that sustainably by actually shrinking you. This is the thing. It's like, oh, I want to grow. But what Saturn will do initially is shrink you so that you can find your sense of self within that shrunken state. Okay, there is, I'm actually going to use a phrase from a old Disney film called Cool Runnings. I recommend watching that, Cool Runnings. There is a scene in that where the coach says to one of the participants, if you do not feel enough without a gold medal, you will not feel enough with a gold medal. It's as simple as that, okay? And this is exactly how Saturn works. It's like you want the medal, but really you don't feel enough in yourself. So therefore, if you attained the medal, you would not even be able to embrace the benefits of having it anyway. This is the whole point. And this concept pulls through to all levels of daily life, and why most people absolutely flop their Saturnian trials in day-to-day life. Because nobody wants to face restriction. Nobody wants to be the one who falls, and nobody wants to be the one who shrinks first before growing to a much greater capacity. In other words, everybody wants to strive for the gold medal, but they don't actually feel enough without it. And this basically means that any Saturnian trial is going to actually repel the medal until you are actually ready to truly face it and attain it. This is the thing. Saturn is the force that knocks you back in order to initiate greater levels of resilience and in order to initiate greater levels of autonomy and sovereignty. You learn how to actually welcome paradoxical trial. This is the thing. If you want anything in your life to grow, you have to somewhat welcome Saturn. This is the thing. If you want a business to grow, you have to welcome knockbacks. Okay. If you want your finances to grow, you have to welcome knockbacks. Everything has to be welcomed as a paradoxical initiator to help you attain something greater. For example, I notice it a lot with my Patreon and with my membership programs. People join and then they leave, and then they join and then they leave, and then they join and then they leave. This is how it goes. Overall, it is growing. It's kind of joining, leaving, joining, leaving, and it's trending upwards. But it would not be able to grow without people leaving. This is the whole point. As I continue to change and I continue to evolve and I continue to grow as a person, my vibrational frequency is drastically shifting, at which point so are the people that I'm working with. So I actually learn to welcome it if somebody leaves. If somebody leaves one of my trainings, I welcome it. They're not in resonance with me anymore. If somebody leaves my Patreon, yeah, I welcome it. They're not in resonance with me anymore. All of that kind of stuff is all part and parcel of actually growing into a more rounded and more evolved version of yourself. It's all about embracing the paradox of creation and destruction, like I speak about all the time on this channel. But when we're facing Saturnian initiation directly, we are willingly invoking the restriction. We are invoking the obstacles. We are asking for restrictions to be put into our evolutionary path so that we can evolve at a greater and more accelerated rate. Because the more you face your karma and the more willing you are to face it, then the more evolution you are going to attain within a shorter space of time. And the more you master your karma and you master the different aspects of your unconscious mind, and you actually invoke the obstacle in order to face it instead of avoiding it or trying to tiptoe around it, then you are going to attain what you want faster. It will never work in the way that you think it will, but you are always going to attain what you actually want faster by willingly facing the obstacle. And this is what we are doing when we are facing Saturnian initiation from an occult standpoint. We are willingly welcoming the obstacles in order to experience the purification and the transmutation of these obstacles. Absolutely essential if we want to gain mastery over our karma, gain mastery over our unconscious mind, and ultimately continue to evolve. But as I said, Saturnian-based initiation is a more advanced practice. You have to ultimately be prepared to face restriction, be prepared to face what you are avoiding, and be prepared to experience some serious disorientation before things start to reorientate themselves. Before things start to properly take shape, you have to experience what is actually stopping it from taking shape in the first place, and this is the point of Saturn. And this is the whole reason why most people fail their Saturnian initiations, because there are societal level expectations in day-to-day life whereby if you don't have this by this time, then you're not adequate. And everybody is wanting those linear results. And that's not how Saturn works. Saturn takes things away from you first, applies limitations first, so that you can learn what you need to learn in order to grow as a person. And it is continuous. So don't consciously welcome Saturnian initiation via occult sciences into your day-to-day life until you are absolutely ready to do so, because it does crush people. It does crush people to pieces if they are not ready and willing to face these aspects of themselves. But for those that are ready, this week I'm going to be uploading Rites of Saturnian Initiation. Not this week, this month, sorry. I'm going to be uploading Rites of Saturnian Initiation onto my Patreon for those who are ready to expose themselves to the initiatory current of Saturn. But for now, I think that's everything that I need to say on this topic. Be sure to hit like and subscribe if this video is helpful to you. Remember to check out Patreon and my premium membership service within the first two links of the description of this video, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you.